The first thing, we're going to bread something the usual way, flour, eggs, breadcrumbs. But I do not touch this until the very end with your fingers, because then you get breadcrumbs all over your fingers, flour, and use a fork. Now, I'm not seasoning this because the seasoning in the egg, that way it's uniform. Every piece will get the same amount of seasoning. Sometimes you put a little too much on one side or the other. And make sure all the chicken is touched by flour. And then shake it. That's why it's called dusting. Then you put it in the egg. Turn it in the egg. And then we're going to go into the breadcrumbs. Lift it, let it drip a little, because you don't need to have all of that in there. I'll use my fork to press it down to really get a coating. And this way, again, one more time, and then I'm going to use my hands. Like now. Press it down. See, the fingers are still fairly dry from not having the egg wash on it. And these are nice, I trimmed these down from 10 and 11 ounce chicken breasts from Costco to 6.5 to 7.5 without pounding, because I want a nice piece of chicken for dinner. No sense in having breaded chicken where there's more breading than there is chicken. Terrible. So that takes care of that. And we'll just place it here next to the other one I just did. And all I'm going to do now is saute it in a mixture of virgin olive oil and butter. And it's not going to be a high flame, so the virgin olive oil is not going to burn, either is the butter. And we'll get a nice crispy coating, and then finish it up and wait till later to put it in the oven. So I have 1/4 cup of virgin olive oil and 2 tablespoons of butter in there. You see the flame, not too high. The butter and the olive oil are going to give it a nice flavor. I can add the chicken now. And I also use a non-stick. Just the right size. So, now are we going to sit here and watch this? No. I'm going to raise the flame like that. It's on medium, and I'm using my largest burner. And those are kind of thick, so it's going to take a little while. And we are not going to... Let me turn it on high just to start it, and then I'm going to drop it. Maybe I should have waited another minute before I put the chicken in, but it's not going to harm anything. But we want this to start. So there we go. Very nice. Now I'm going to lower it because I don't want anything to burn. Put it down to medium. And you can tell when it's time to turn. On the edges underneath, you could see the color. So that's the flame. That's what we got. So I'm going to shut the camera off because I know this is boring to watch. But doesn't that chicken look like it's going to be a meal instead of a thin little chicken cutlet? I'll be back in maybe 3 minutes to turn it. Let's turn this on again. It's been less than like a minute, but you see how it's bubbling very quickly? I'm going to turn it down some more. I don't want it to burn anything. So let it go slow. It'll get the color. It's been another 2 minutes or so, but it looks like it might have color underneath, like that. Nice and light. That's beautiful. And I'm also going to use a thermometer on it, just to make sure I don't overdo it now, because it's going to go in the oven later, like in about 2 hours from now. I don't like making things the last minute. I have other things to do. Just make sure the oil, the butter is underneath. So, no sense in watching this again. It'll be done in a couple of minutes. And I'll take the temperature. I'm not using a measuring teaspoon to do this. I'm using a regular teaspoon that you use in everyday eating to apply the pesto. That's 1. That's 2. I think we like pesto in this house, so it's going to be like 2.5 to 3 teaspoons. And this was in the freezer, so you could tell that it's still very firm, not watered down. And then the mozzarella. I'm going to put this. Keep your hand over there like so. Keep it from falling off. You know, some will fall off, but that's okay. Just don't be cheap, because we like our mozzarella. And then later on, after I cook it, that's when I'll finish up the video. Now this, I took these chicken breasts out of the pan at 150 degrees, which means they have to heat up and get to 165, and then you can eat them. That's why you need a temperature gauge, or if you're a good chef, you know when it's cooked just by looking at it. So we'll finish this up later. And a half hour later at 350, this is it. I hope you enjoy.